My name is Freddie Massimi. I work in fraud at Live Oak Bank, and I also partner with Deliver Fund as a counter-illicit finance advisor. That combination is what really led me to this topic today, because what we see in financial data every day is directly tied to what they're seeing on the ground. And what I've learned from sitting in both seats is that trafficking isn't hidden. It's not just being seen the right way. Today I'm going to show you how it's actually moving through the system. Trafficking depends on the financial system, not outside of it, inside it. They blend into normal commerce, use the same rails your customers use, and rely on looking normal. So the signals, they're already there, ladies and gentlemen. We just haven't been looking at them the right way. This is where the mindset shift happens. Most of us were trained to find a bad transaction. But traffickers don't rely on those bad transactions. They rely on movement, layering, and behavior over time. So instead of asking, is this suspicious? We need to ask, what story is the behavior telling? So the next slide, we're going to have an engagement. So usually I hate to see phones because I think people aren't listening to me, so get those smartphones out. Let's see if this loads. So scan the QR code. A couple of you know this answer because I told you in my brain day. Dane, what is the most common age for an individual to be trafficked? Put that in and let me know your answers. Good answers, good guesses. So as a reminder, victims are not going to walk into your bank if you work for a bank and say, hey, I'm a victim. They're actually having traffickers answer for them. They take their passports away. Who has a daughter in the room? Let me see a show of hands. Which one of them is under the age of 10? At 9 years old is the most common age of trafficking. And a lot of people gasp over that. That can't be. I'm 40 years old. I grew up without Facebook and social media, and my mom rang a cowbell, Freddie, it's time to come inside. Now, you go out to eat and you see children on iPads. They're on TikTok. They're on Snapchat. They think that those nudies that they're sending won't get out. But guess what? Airplane mode, screenshot, and they never get a notification that that picture is out there. So at 9 years old, your pictures of cheerleading, duck face, dances, where you're going, tagging the location where you're going to is common grooming for traffickers. So again, at 9 years old is the most common age. So let me slow this down for a second, because this is where it really starts to click. Trafficking operations don't scale through chaos. They scale through structure. Think about this. Shared devices, the same phone numbers, the same payment endpoints, and accounts that act like hubs. Do we have any data analysts in fraud in the room? Okay. Who can tell me the most common thing when an account takeover? Okay. What else? ID theft. So credentials, ID theft, and what else? Pardon? Deepfake. Okay. All great answers and all correct, but right now the most common thing is a late night online banking login at the hour of 3 a.m. I don't know why they choose that. And what's happening is they're immediately changing the email address and text message phone number because they don't want the real clients to get those notifications, and then boom, those funnel accounts start to happen. So at this slide, this is where analytics become powerful. We're not guessing, we're measuring. Network density, transaction burst, layering behavior. You're not looking for a crime. You're looking for the behavior that doesn't statistically make sense. When you have a gut feeling over something, trust your gut. Dig deeper. Go after that transaction. Data will tell your story, but us as parents and people, see something, say something. So let's bring this into our world. Think about how your customers move money today. What worked yesterday is not going to work tomorrow and not going to work today. Zelle, Venmo, Cash App. Once that money is gone, it's gone. Sometimes it's very hard to recover that money. So it's fast, it's easy, and it's frictionless. So let's walk through a real life scenario. A payment comes in for $75. Looks normal, right? Then it moves to another account, then to a payment app, then to merchant through merchant services. Then it gets split again. No single step will trigger this concern. Fraud-based rules, AML-based rules, whatever rules you have in your analytics, you constantly have to change them. Don't just do a quarterly review, you have to do a monthly review, and sometimes weekly. So this isn't just random. It's an intentional movement designed to do one thing: break the trail, confuse the algorithms. So as you look here, we tend to treat these as separate problems. So I'm going to go with a lot of fraud typologies that are hot in the industry right now. Sextortion, pig butchering scams. And before I go on to the next thing, who has heard, actually let me rephrase this. Who has not heard of the pig butchering scam? Raise your hand. Okay. So a pig butchering scam is a lot of times it's related to cryptocurrency investments. 9 times out of 10, it is an elderly individual where they get coerced or forced to invest their own money. And it's just like as it sounds. They groom them, they pump them up, and then they slaughter them until they have nothing left. It is a pig butchering scam. And this topic today with trafficking, there are victims in Myanmar, in Asia, in Jamaica, and Nigeria being told, if you don't make money today, I'm going to kill your family. Trafficking is not only a victim crime. It's suspects being forced to hit another victim. And please remember that in your data. Different teams, different playbooks. Who can honestly say in their institutions, especially my banking people here, that AML and fraud talk to each other as much as they have to or should? I see Alex smiling over there. Collaboration is everything. That is one thing that I heard through SAS in a presentation, that framal approach. Fraud and AML together is a necessity. You have to talk to each other. Emotion drives the payment. Speed moves the money, and layering hides the trail. This is where things shift from theory to reality. What you're looking at here is movement across the United States. These aren't going to be random dots I'm about to show you on the next slide here. Watch what happens when the same identifiers appear in the different states. Patterns repeat over time. Okay, let's see if this will work. Give me one moment. I may need my tech people to come up here because I need to show this map. Pardon? Give me a second here. Okay, yes, that is my beautiful family. That is my son Henry, my wife Alex, and myself. So give me one moment here. Yep. Okay. So if I would have showed you this in 2020, what do you think all those dots would be? Anybody guessing COVID cases? This is live trafficking escort ad cases. California, Texas, North Carolina. This is from January to current. These are signals. It's eye-opening to a lot of people because what this says is that what law enforcement, what SASVI has helped identify these identifiers. And some of them may think like, why is Florida not lit up as much as I think it's going to be? It's getting worse and worse day by day. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, a lot of people think machine learning is the answer. It's not. It's part of the answer. You need rules to catch known behavior, stats to catch anomalies, and models to find patterns you didn't know existed. It's not about replacing analysts. It's about making them faster and more accurate. I'm going to repeat that. AI is not your true answer. You need the human element behind it. You need it to help. It's kind of what Mel said in the talk today. It's about making them faster and more accurate. Now, this is where things get really powerful. We're not just looking at transactions anymore. We're modeling behavior. Who did something, what they did, when they did it. Because timing changes everything. So for example, a login at 2 a.m., followed by contact info changes, followed by rapid payments, that is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. That is control that the trafficker is starting to have over people. Everything we talked about leads here to this slide. These aren't just transactions. These are kids being extorted, individuals being controlled, victims being moved and exploited. And the hardest part, to your systems, it looks like normal activity. So what do we do with this? Because insight without action doesn't help anyone. You score it, you triage it, and you escalate it. And when it crosses that threshold, it's not just an alert anymore. It's a potential investigation, a SAR, analytics, or a life or death situation for some of these victims. So I had to do a mock-up of SASVI, their portal, what we were seeing in dark mode, because I could not share real information, so just bear with me here. This case started like a lot of the ones we all see every day, an account takeover. It hit my screen like another alert when I was at another bank I was working for, but something about it did not sit right. Not because of one transaction, but because of the pattern behind it. So I'm going to bring this into SASVI, naturally. Got to give a shout out here. Thank you for that. So I started digging. Using that platform, it wasn't just looking at transactions anymore. I was looking at behavior. I started to see late not access, changes, money moving faster than it should, and connections to other accounts that just doesn't make sense. Why is a trucking business have $18,000 a day going to Colombia? Something just didn't sit right. And that's when the gut feeling kicked in. This wasn't just fraud. This was control. But it didn't end there. So from there, I filed a SAR. I didn't let it sit into FinCEN for 6-7 weeks like it usually does. And when FinCEN, the non-bankers, it's the Financial Crimes Network, we would file our suspicious activity reports. I picked up the phone and I called an agent that I knew down in Miami, Florida, and I said, hey, this activity is indicative of human trafficking. Looking at the account takeover, there was 22 accounts that were changed. They all have the same address. They all have the same phone number. Can you do a door knock for me? Homeland Security immediately got local law enforcement to go in there. And at that very moment, they saved 22 girls from being trafficked. They were being bused to nail salons, massage parlors, hotels, and other institutions every single day. So again, that gut feeling can save a life. So what I just explained is that that started as a fraud alert, something that could have been closed out. Normal activity, no anomalies. But because we followed the behavior, not just the transaction, it turned into something much bigger. That's the overlap between fraud and human trafficking. And I guarantee that there are alerts in your guys' queues right now that look exactly like the one I did. So here's exactly how this plays out. You don't start with the trafficker. You start with a signal or a work item. Then you expand the network, you analyze the behavior, identify the control, and then the first account you find is 9 times out of 10, almost never the real one. It's kind of like a network that is on the news right now. A lot of times it's not the person that we need to be looking at. You follow the trail, you follow the money, and that gut feeling is going to make you find the real crimes. Again, this is another mock-up. I couldn't put the real one up there. So look at it. Nothing here screams crime, does it? But if you look closer, late night timing, similar amounts, and a same destination type. All businesses, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App. So I'm hoping that it starts to feel different and you dig a little deeper and you see the risk score on there. Or excuse me, you see the amounts on there. So I'll explain something here, and I had this conversation in the brain date I did. Who's married in the room or has, you're dating somebody? Which one, how many of them have been on a bachelor party or a weekend getaway without you recently? Okay, so 2 of you guys. I'm gonna just go into a story. A lot of traffickers now, they want full control. They don't want their girls, which are 85%, and men, 15%. What they're doing now is they want all the people that are paying for sex trafficking to pay in non-cash, so faster payments. So I don't know about you, but if I went on a bachelor party and my wife saw a Venmo to a first-name female for $75 at 3 o'clock in the morning, she's gonna have questions, right? So this is what they're doing. They want full control, and that data, Zelle, Michael, Cash App, Lisa, and sometimes you can put the reason behind it. And people put there exactly the service that they're getting. I was like, are you kidding me right now? And I'm not making a joke, but the data is there and it's hopefully getting there. And with SAS Via, it made an incredible find, which I'll show you here. All right, I want you to take a second and just look at this. These are made up names. This isn't just a network diagram. This is a real case. A 15-year-old girl being moved across cities in California over 16 days. And what makes this case so important is how everything connects. You got traffickers coordinating movements, cars moving her from location to location, hotels being used for short stays, rotating quickly to avoid detection, luxury venues. They're not going to bring them to a Gaylord Texan, but luxury venues, and what I mean by that, you have really, really nice Airbnbs and really, really nice Verbos on the beach. And the Johns are renting these houses out, 18 rooms in there and constant people coming in and out. On average, they are forced to sleep with 8 people a day. And then you got the financial layer. ATM withdrawals, cash being pulled out to break the trail, cards being used, transactions that blend right into everyday spending. And this is where it really starts to connect. Phones, multiple phones. There is no reason for someone to have 27 different accounts on Verizon Wireless or AT&T unless they are a business. That is something to look at. Phone calls coordinating movement, payments, and control. Look at the times those phone calls are being used. And this entire operation is happening across systems you already monitor. So think about this for the second before I move on to the next slide. Every day, one of these signals, card usage, ATM withdrawals, hotel transactions, phone activity already exist in your data. But individually, none of it looks like trafficking. That's what makes this so difficult and so dangerous. This doesn't show up on one obvious alert. It shows up at a small, disconnected signal that only makes sense when you connect them. So for your teams, break silos. Connect fraud and AML. Focus on behavior. That's how detection becomes faster and more meaningful. So we are ahead of schedule. I told Lindsay and Anna that I would not take the full 45 minutes. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you scan that right there, I promise you that's not fraud. That is directly to my LinkedIn. Please connect with me. I post a lot of content when it comes time to trafficking and fraud. We'll love to talk with you and do some training. It's absolutely free. Trafficking isn't invisible. It's just unrecognized. And the people in this room are one of the best positions to change that. Is there any questions before we finalize this presentation?
If you guys put your hand up if you've got a question and I'll come running to you. Anyone got anything? Come on. No? No questions?
Awesome.
No worries. Well, can we all give some appreciation to Freddie? Quite an interesting topic.